A couple of days ago, I saw another post of yours, and I think a lot of people probably feel the same way. That is, when you look at American society today and many other places around the world, it feels like society has become extremely corrupted. People's hearts have fallen very low, and many people are wondering whether there is still any hope at all. It feels like people are completely disheartened. From what we have encountered and what we see in daily life, it really feels as if American society has been infiltrated by the Chinese Communist Party like a sieve full of holes. So, at a time like this, do you think we still have hope to reverse this trend? That's the first question. Second, if there is hope, what is the most effective way to act?
首先我们永远不能放弃希望。第二，我觉得
First of all, we must never give up hope. Second, I believe there is definitely hope. Because we have not reached the end of the world yet. Because if the CCP becomes the world's dominant power, if it subjugates and controls the United States, humanity will not go very far. Yesterday, I was discussing this issue with someone at a very high level inside the CCP system. We were talking about how AI technology is developing at an extremely fast pace, and how the technological gap between China and the United States is razor thin. From his perspective, if the CCP can deal with the Chinese people involved in AI, because right now most of America's AI technology is in the hands of Chinese people. The CEOs of the three major chip companies are all Chinese: Lisa Su at AMD, Jensen Huang at NVIDIA, and the head of Intel is also Chinese. The top three U.S. chip companies, which have the most advanced AI technology, are all led by Chinese executives. And in XAI, as everyone has seen in the photos, more than 60% are Chinese faces, and they are all top-tier talent. So the largest concentration of talent in AI is Chinese. Of course, many of these Chinese people were born and raised in the United States, but the CCP believes that in the end they can be handled and made to serve the CCP. If that happens, once China goes from being slightly behind to slightly ahead, you will never be able to catch up. Why? Because they are mobilizing the power of the entire nation. That tiny margin is extremely difficult to surpass. In algorithms, it's like having a kind of intelligence. I have a method you don't understand yet, and that method is 100 times faster than yours. So you can't catch up. But once you understand my method, it becomes very easy for you to surpass me. Right now, they are stuck at that critical point. So when he explained this, I found it even more terrifying. He also gave an example. He said that in autonomous driving technology, China has already far surpassed the United States. And China's manufacturing capacity is 10 times, even 100 times that of the US. For example, DJI, China's DJI.
So his view is that he believes the CCP could possibly defeat the United States.
He believes it is inevitable.
Inevitable? Is this view common inside the CCP? Do most people think this way?
It has a huge market. So yesterday I spent a lot of time talking to him. In the end, he said he had a sudden awakening. I told him many things and he felt enlightened. Because one thing I said really moved him. After all, he is my friend.
How did you persuade him given how confident he was?
Honestly, I should have recorded the conversation yesterday, but I didn't have his consent. What I said yesterday was quite compelling. Because he is my friend, everything he said to me was actually out of a desire to help me. He genuinely believes what I was saying.
Was he trying to persuade you to return to China?
No, he wasn't urging me to return. What he meant was that I should adjust. He didn't say it directly. What he meant was that I should face reality and make adjustments. For example, if the US cannot defeat China and you still want to help China, then you should change the way you help. If you can never overthrow the CCP, but you still love China, right? Then you change the way you help. Just like some democracy activists say, the CCP will never collapse. So I'll return to China and cooperate with the CCP. Then I become the winner. I can even make the greatest contribution to China. This cooperation does not necessarily mean doing bad things. It could mean doing good things. For example, Wang Yang, Hu Chunhua, Li Keqiang. He might think that at least he was better than worse premiers. That's another political layer. But one thing I can say with 100% certainty is this. He genuinely cares about me. He was not trying to brainwash me. He knows he doesn't have the ability to brainwash me. The reason the CCP is now very afraid of people contacting me is that they are afraid I will brainwash others. Because I know their information. I know many things they don't know. So from a certain angle, I am standing higher and further ahead. So how did I persuade him? I explained a very simple principle. I said, the CCP is mobilizing the power of the entire nation, right? It will indeed surpass others very quickly. But after it surpasses them, it will face a problem. It will reach a point where, because its direction is wrong, it will self-destruct. What does self-destruction mean? For example, if it invents AI technology, if it develops cloning technology, if it can mass produce organs infinitely, there will always be one organ that is the best. So who gets the best organ? Right now, of course, it's Xi Jinping. He sits firmly in power. But what if his authority is challenged? And what if Li Qiang also runs into trouble? He might want a new organ too. But there is only one best organ, so who gets it? Li Qiang might end up fighting Xi Jinping over it. This is a black hole. This is a power structure without rules. This is a problem that authoritarian systems cannot solve. If they solved it, it would no longer be that kind of society. In the past, in feudal dynasties, this deadlock, succession, was their greatest crisis. After the emperor died, that moment was the regime's greatest danger. This was an unsolvable problem. Later, the West solved it through democratic elections. That's why the United States has lasted 250 years. Even though it is chaotic now, it never collapses simply because one emperor dies. Once you see this clearly, you realize that the faster the CCP develops, the faster it will die. That was when he suddenly realized this made sense. The reason I am so optimistic right now is precisely because the CCP is developing so fast. If it develops slowly, if it developed like North Korea, it could last another 30 or 50 years, because it would not pose a threat to the United States. No one goes out of their way to provoke North Korea. You're just a madman playing your own game with 20 or 30 million people suffering, and the US says, fine, I won't bother with you. But China is different. You are developing so fast, you're about to surpass the United States. The US will absolutely not allow that. So failure is inevitable, because the CCP surely wants to try to surpass. There are two possibilities. Either it never surpasses, or now that the US has already recognized the threat, it will strike to prevent it. Or even if it does surpass, it will self-destruct afterward. It will not become world number one forever. That is impossible. Surpassing only accelerates its death. That's why I say I am more optimistic than you. Because if you self-destruct within 5 years, even if you surpass the US by dozens of times, what then? Your drones, what they now call the low-altitude economy, a term I heard just yesterday, that's the massive development of drones. In China, the drone sector is at least 10 years ahead of the US. Almost every field now uses unmanned aircraft. Delivery, firefighting, laying solar panels deep in forests, all done by drones. People wonder how those massive solar panels in Guizhou were installed when there are no roads. They were done by low-altitude drones. Below 1,000 meters, this is called the low-altitude economy. They have already produced hundreds of millions of drones for transport, positioning, surveillance, and more. That's why many Americans visiting China for the first time say they feel like they have entered the future. They feel China has reached another technological level. And in some areas, that is indeed true. So I believe hope does exist. But hope existing does not mean we can do nothing and still win. The more we do, the faster we win, and the lower the cost. If we do less, we might still win in the end, but the cost could be enormous. It could even mean that in the end, after a pandemic wipes out 9/10 of the American population, the CCP finally self-destructs. Or the CCP could self-destruct 10 years later. It would still count as a win.